The late 18th century was a time of profound upheaval in Europe. The American Revolution had ignited a spark of revolution, challenging established monarchies and inspiring new ideas about liberty and self-governance. This flame of revolution soon spread across the Atlantic, engulfing France in 1789. The French Revolution, with its cries for liberté, égalité, fraternité, sent shockwaves across the continent, shaking the foundations of traditional power structures. The Netherlands, a nation built on maritime trade and republican ideals, watched these events unfold with a mixture of apprehension and anticipation. The stage was set for a period of dramatic transformation in the Netherlands. The arrival of French revolutionary armies in the Netherlands in 1795 marked a turning point in Dutch history. The old order crumbled under the weight of French military might, and the fervor of Dutch revolutionaries inspired by the ideals of the French Revolution. The year 1795 witnessed the birth of the Batavian Republic, a new political entity founded on the principles of popular sovereignty, representative government, and the separation of powers. The Batavian Republic embraced a more centralized form of government, abolishing the decentralized system of provinces that had characterized the old order. The Batavian Republic's constitution, inspired by the French model, enshrined the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity, guaranteeing fundamental rights and freedoms to its citizens. Internally, the new republic faced resistance from Orangist factions loyal to the deposed House of Orange. Externally, the Batavian Republic found itself caught in the crossfire between France and its enemies, particularly Great Britain. Despite these challenges, the Batavian Republic embarked on an ambitious program of reform and modernization. By the late 18th century, the Dutch Republic, once a formidable maritime power and a beacon of republicanism, found itself grappling with internal divisions and economic decline. The Dutch Republic's complex political structure, a decentralized confederation of provinces with a weak central government, proved increasingly ineffective in addressing the challenges of the time. At the heart of the Republic's woes lay a growing disparity between the wealthy merchant elite and the common people who bore the brunt of economic hardship. The stadholderate, held by the House of Orange, had become a symbol of this growing inequality. The ideas emanating from the French Revolution, particularly its emphasis on popular sovereignty, individual rights, and equality before the law, found fertile ground in this atmosphere of discontent. Secret societies, such as the Patriot movement, emerged, spreading revolutionary ideals and calling for an end to aristocratic privilege and a more democratic form of government. The French Revolution, which had begun in 1789, sent shockwaves across Europe, toppling monarchies and challenging established orders. In the Netherlands, the arrival of French revolutionary armies in 1795, hailed by many as liberators, marked a decisive turning point. The old Dutch Republic, weakened by internal divisions and unable to mount effective resistance, collapsed swiftly. The stadholder, William V of Orange, fled into exile in England, marking the end of the Orange dynasty's rule. The year 1795 witnessed the proclamation of the Batavian Republic, a new political entity founded on the principles of popular sovereignty, representative government, and the separation of powers. The Batavian Republic, eager to demonstrate its commitment to the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, embarked on an ambitious program of reform. One of its first acts was the adoption of a new constitution in 1798, modeled after the French Constitution of 1795. The establishment of the Batavian Republic, while marking a triumph for the revolutionary cause, did not usher in an era of unity and stability. Instead, the new republic found itself navigating a complex and often turbulent political landscape, marked by internal divisions, external threats, and the challenges of forging a new national identity. While many, particularly among the urban middle classes and intellectuals, embraced the ideals of the revolution, others remained deeply suspicious of the new order. Support for the House of Orange, though weakened by the stadholder's flight, persisted, particularly in rural areas and among those who viewed the revolution as a threat to traditional values. The Batavian Republic also faced opposition from conservative elements within the Dutch Reformed Church, the dominant religious institution in the Netherlands. The Batavian Republic's decision to secularize education and to grant greater religious freedom to Catholics and other minorities further alienated these conservative factions. Adding to the Republic's challenges was the ongoing war in Europe. As the 18th century drew to a close, a new figure emerged on the European stage, Napoleon Bonaparte. Rising from obscure origins to become first consul of France in 1799, Napoleon embarked on a series of military campaigns that would see him crowned Emperor of the French in 1804. The Batavian Republic, allied with France since its inception, watched Napoleon's rise with a mixture of hope and apprehension. On the one hand, Napoleon represented a force for stability and order in a Europe convulsed by revolution and war. However, Napoleon's ambitions extended far beyond the borders of France. In 1806, Napoleon dissolved the Batavian Republic, deeming its democratic experiment a failure, and replaced it with the Kingdom of Holland. To rule this new kingdom, Napoleon chose his brother, Louis Bonaparte. This move marked a turning point in Dutch history, ushering in an era of French domination. Louis Bonaparte's reign was marked by a paradox. He was both a reformer, genuinely committed to improving the lives of his Dutch subjects, and a puppet king, beholden to the will of his more powerful brother, Napoleon. This duality defined his reign, leading to a complex legacy of both progress and resentment. The introduction of the Napoleonic Code brought greater legal uniformity and efficiency, laying the groundwork for a more modern legal system. His administrative reforms, though often resented as an imposition of French models, streamlined governance and reduced corruption. However, Napoleon's ever-increasing demands for troops and financial contributions to support his wars placed a heavy burden on the Dutch economy. In 1810, frustrated by what he perceived as his brother's lack of resolve in enforcing his will, Napoleon annexed the Kingdom of Holland into the French Empire, bringing his reign to an abrupt end. The Napoleonic era left a mixed legacy in the Netherlands. While Louis Bonaparte's reforms had introduced some positive changes, particularly in the realms of law, administration, and education, they were often overshadowed by the burdens of French domination. The Dutch people had chafed under Napoleon's demands for troops and money, and his continental system had devastated their economy. The annexation of the Netherlands into the French Empire in 1810 extinguished any remaining illusions of Dutch independence. However, the Napoleonic era also had a profound impact on Dutch national consciousness. The shared experience of French domination fostered a sense of unity and common purpose among the Dutch people. In 1806, Napoleon Bonaparte introduced the Continental system, aiming to cripple Britain economically by prohibiting trade between Britain and other European nations. This policy sought to prevent British goods from entering European ports, imposing a strict trade embargo. The Continental system, however, had far-reaching consequences. It not only targeted Britain, but also affected the economies of the countries forced to comply, causing significant economic hardship. The Dutch, heavily reliant on trade, found themselves in a precarious position, leading to widespread discontent and economic hardship. Despite these challenges, some Dutch merchants sought ways to circumvent the blockade, engaging in smuggling and other illicit activities to sustain their livelihoods. The economic strain led to growing resentment towards Napoleon among European nations. Despite the embargo, Britain's economy showed resilience by finding alternative trade routes and tapping into global markets. The Continental system thus became a catalyst for both economic struggle and resistance, setting the stage for further tensions and conflicts in the region. Holland in the crosshairs. Economic fallout and discontent. The impact of the Continental system on the Netherlands was severe and devastating. The once bustling ports fell silent as the flow of goods ground to a halt. Many businesses went bankrupt, and unemployment soared. The common people faced shortages of essential goods, leading to widespread discontent. The blockade not only affected trade, but also strained diplomatic relations, causing tensions to rise across Europe. This period of economic hardship set the stage for further unrest and rebellion. Families struggled to make ends meet, with many unable to afford basic necessities. Market stalls stood empty, and shops closed down, reflecting the dire economic situation. Workers lost their jobs and livelihoods, further deepening the economic crisis. Scenes of poverty and despair became common in towns across the Netherlands. The anger and discontent among Dutch citizens grew, threatening the stability of the region. Merchants and traders lamented the blockade's impact, as their businesses crumbled under the pressure. Farmers faced crop failures, exacerbating the food shortages and adding to the economic woes. Artisans and craftsmen found it increasingly difficult to sell their goods, leading to further economic decline. Government officials debated policies to alleviate the crisis, but solutions were hard to come by. Long lines for food rations became a common sight, highlighting the desperation of the populace. Malnutrition among children rose, painting a grim picture of the nation's future. Newspapers reported daily on the economic turmoil, fueling public outrage and calls for change. Town squares filled with citizens protesting, demanding relief and reform from their leaders. A nation of smugglers, circumventing the blockade. The Dutch people were renowned for their resilience and entrepreneurial spirit. They engaged in a vast network of smuggling operations across the North Sea. The coastline provided opportunities for clandestine landings and contraband movement. Fishermen hid contraband beneath barrels of fish. Coastal communities collaborated, providing safe houses and transportation networks. Essential commodities like grain and textiles were smuggled to sustain the population. Dutch merchants negotiated with foreign traders in secretive locations. Small boats navigated through treacherous waters under the cover of night. Hidden compartments in ships were ingeniously used to store contraband. The price of defiance, reprisals, and growing tensions. The Dutch defiance of the Continental system did not go unnoticed by Napoleon. Napoleon tightened his grip on the Netherlands, dispatching customs officials and troops. Suspected smugglers faced harsh punishments, including imprisonment and confiscation of goods. The increased French presence fueled resentment among the Dutch population. The Dutch, pushed to the brink, prepared to reclaim their independence. French soldiers patrolled the streets, enforcing strict regulations that stifled daily life. In secret, Dutch citizens met to discuss plans for resistance and reclaiming their freedom. Tensions escalated, leading to clashes between Dutch citizens and French soldiers in the streets. Dutch leaders rallied the people, calling for unity and action against the French occupation. The tide turns. Napoleon's empire in retreat. By 1812, Napoleon's empire began to show cracks. His once vast and seemingly invincible empire started to crumble under the weight of continuous warfare and overextension. His disastrous invasion of Russia marked a significant turning point. The Grande Armée, once the pride of France, was decimated by the harsh winter and fierce Russian resistance. The defeat exposed the limits of his military might, emboldening his European enemies. In Spain, a relentless guerrilla war drained French resources and morale, further weakening Napoleon's grip on Europe. Nationalism, sown during the French Revolution, began to sprout across Europe, fueling resistance against French domination. Cracks appeared in the facade of invincibility, revealing the vulnerabilities of Napoleon's overstretched empire. The tide was turning, and his enemies were preparing for a final confrontation, sensing the weakening of Napoleon's once formidable power. A kingdom no more, the collapse of French rule. News of Napoleon's setbacks brought hope and apprehension. Many dreaded renewed upheaval, while others saw a chance to reclaim independence. Economic hardship fueled resentment towards the French, and forced integration strengthened Dutch national identity. As Napoleon's armies suffered defeats, French authority in the Netherlands crumbled. In 1813, Dutch citizens formed a provisional government, proclaiming Dutch independence and inviting William Frederick to the throne. The Dutch rose up, ending the Napoleonic experiment. Celebrations erupted as the Dutch embraced their newfound freedom. In November 1813, William Frederick returned to Dutch soil after nearly 2 decades in exile. His return marked a significant turning point for the nation. He was greeted with jubilation by a people eager to reclaim their place among the free nations of Europe. The streets were filled with celebrations, and the air was thick with hope and anticipation. The House of Orange had become a unifying force, a symbol of Dutch resilience and national identity. The people saw in William a leader who could restore their pride and independence. Taking the title of William I, he was no mere figurehead. His vision for the Netherlands was ambitious and transformative. he envisioned a new Netherlands, a centralized monarchy with a strong central government. His policies aimed at modernizing the state and consolidating power. His reign marked the beginning of a new era for the Netherlands, one characterized by unity, stability, and a renewed sense of national purpose. A new era dawns, the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. The Congress of Vienna, convened in 1815, united the former Dutch Republic with the southern Netherlands, creating the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. This union faced challenges from the outset. The northern and southern Netherlands had distinct identities, languages, and religions. The Protestant North contrasted with the Catholic South. William IV sought to unify the kingdom but faced resistance. In 1830, the southern Netherlands declared independence as the Kingdom of Belgium. Echoes of revolution and reform. The French period, though turbulent, left an enduring legacy on Dutch society. The ideals of the French Revolution inspired reforms and transformed the political and social landscape. The Batavian Republic introduced concepts like popular sovereignty and representative government. The Napoleonic Code brought legal uniformity, emphasizing equality before the law. Centralized administration, though initially resented, proved beneficial for the Netherlands. Ideals of equality and meritocracy challenged traditional hierarchies. The expansion of education broadened access to knowledge and created a more informed citizenry. Forged in the crucible of war, the Dutch experience in the Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars had a profound impact on the Netherlands, forging a new sense of national identity. The Dutch endured economic hardship, political upheaval, and military conscription. Thousands fought in Napoleon's armies, experiencing the horrors of war firsthand. These shared experiences created camaraderie and common purpose. French occupation brought significant changes, introducing new ideas and institutions. The Napoleonic era witnessed the emergence of a pronounced Dutch national identity. The Dutch emerged with a renewed sense of identity and determination to be free and independent. The French period, though often viewed as a parenthesis in Dutch history, had a profound and lasting impact on the Netherlands. It was a period of both upheaval and transformation, of both destruction and creation. The old order, symbolized by the Dutch Republic, had been swept away, replaced by the ideals of the French Revolution and the reforms of the Napoleonic era. The legacy of the French period is evident in modern Dutch society. The principles of popular sovereignty and the rule of law continue to shape Dutch political culture. The centralized administrative system laid the foundation for a modern government. The French period also left its mark on Dutch culture and identity. The exposure to French ideas broadened Dutch horizons. The shared experience of French domination forged a stronger sense of national unity. The French period, though tumultuous, helped propel the Netherlands towards its modern form.